How are you? I'm doing well. Someone could just maybe make an announcement out into the foyer that we're going to get started. I'd appreciate that. We are especially proud that the Air Force has selected Burlington as a potential F-35 base. It is a testament to the men and women of the Vermont Air National Guard and the trust that senior leaders of this nation have put in our abilities.
I'd like to read a statement from the senators, if we could, please. As Vermont's 2 United States senators, we unequivocally and strongly support both of the Vermont Air Guard's missions today and into the future. Just as Vermont is enormously proud of the Vermont Air Guard and its citizen soldiers, we are similarly proud of our state's dedication to a high quality of life and our respect for the environment. We thank the Air Force, therefore, for arranging a forum for Vermonters to express their views on the basing of the F-35 in South Burlington. There are Vermonters who have legitimate concerns about this project, and it is important that their views be seriously considered by the Air Force before the final decision is made.
I know there are some concerns about noise and other potential drawbacks facing the F-35 in South Burlington. While I appreciate those concerns, I also feel strongly that these drawbacks are outweighed by the extraordinary benefits that this opportunity presents our communities and our state. Having listened closely to all sides of this issue, I have concluded that basing the F-35A in Vermont is good for the local community, beneficial to Vermont, and a wise investment in our bright jobs future.
Since July 1st, 1946, the airport has been the base of the Vermont Air National Guard, providing 1,100 full and part-time, good-paying jobs, not only to hundreds of Chittenden County residents, but to dozens of residents of the 2 communities that I represent, as well as the rest of Franklin County. The basing of the F-35As at the Burlington National Airport will solidify the presence of the Air National Guard for the next 40 to 50 years, providing not only a superior force for the defense of the Northeast United States, but a well-trained backup to the Army National Guard in the performance of the state mission.
One of my biggest fears is that with all the talk on the federal level about reducing costs, if the program is not located here, then there is a real chance the base could be reduced in size or possibly closed altogether. This would have a profound impact on the city of South Burlington, the Chittenden County region, and the state as a whole. And it's not just the 400 jobs, it's the ripple effect as well. The Vermont Air National Guard provides free fire and rescue services to the airport, which in turn saves the airport a couple $1 million in annual expenditures.
My appeal would be, in light of perspective, imagine what it would be without the extra noise, but imagine further what it would be without the Air Guard here altogether.
We obviously have concerns about noise. City of Winooski is probably the hardest hit community in terms of air noise in the county. That's a big concern for us. In looking at the EIS, it's hard to tell exactly what the change in impact is. We recognize that there are planes flying overhead. I too have lived here all my life. Planes are a part of my life. You learn to deal with it. But there are questions that our citizens have about what is the impact, what is the change that we're going to hear, specifically in terms of the maximum amount of noise that these planes are going to provide.
The final environmental impact statement indicates a significant expansion of the area of highest noise exposure into the dense residential areas of Winooski. According to the final EIS, basing the F-35A fighter jets in South Burlington would represent more than a 50% increase in the number of acres subjected to increased noise.
Sir, I have a question of procedure. Point of order.
Yes, sir.
You know, the only thing I've heard so far has hardly anything to do with the EIS. I talked to you personally and quietly about it, and nothing is being done. And the only people I've heard talk about the EIS were people from Winooski who are very concerned about the impact of these aircraft on their community.
Noises above the 65 DNL standard have been shown by some to contribute to a range of health issues, from increased stress levels to a rise in blood pressure and hypertension. This is incompatible with the environment we live in and unacceptable to the downtown that I believe we have been building towards as a community. Winooski is one of the few remaining affordable communities in Chittenden County. Our city is home to a rich diversity of new Americans, seniors, young families, long-term residents. We are some of the most vulnerable populations in the county. The preferred alternative will engulf 1/3 of us, including a previously unaffected elementary school, and noise pollution above federal standards. The preferred alternative will strain our efforts to become a livable, walkable, outdoor-oriented downtown, and the preferred alternative will endanger our hearing and expose us to increased risks of circulatory disease. The preferred alternative will negatively impact the desirability of our entire city. In its current form, it's not my preferred alternative. Thank you.
Most of the sites under consideration are better located, far from residential neighborhoods and town city centers. Given the unavoidable, and I quote from the EIS, adverse environmental impacts for BTV regarding noise, land use, and environmental justice, that is, effects on minority and low-income populations, why was BTV selected as one of 2 preferred sites? For the second, Hill Air Force Base in Utah, the comparative analysis charts show either no statistically significant change or improvements in these categories. Same for most of the other bases. For BTV scenarios, the affected low-income population increases 7 to 11%. Though when stated, the 89 to 93% representing middle-class populations would also be exposed to these impacts. The BTV scenarios would increase the affected households by 65 to 100%. The first 2 Hill scenarios decrease them by 17 to 50%.
National Guard members serving in Vermont are our neighbors, they're our teachers, they're our policemen, our firefighters, our doctors, our lawyers, and that's just to name a few of the professions that are represented by them. Vermonters are given the benefit of becoming up close and personal with these members, and by the very nature of this bond, we're able to more fully understand the sacrifices that these men and women volunteer to make on America's behalf. I feel that without this presence, Vermonters will suffer by becoming too far removed from this very important aspect of our society and our government, thus limiting our perspective, decreasing our diversity, and weakening our community.
The Air Force and the Vermont Air Guard say they want to be good neighbors, but the environmental impact statement is only 15% of the overall scoring matrix for basing decisions, which I hope will be made public so that we can see how the scores really total between McIntyre and Jacksonville and Burlington. So basically, just our well-being and health is just part of the environmental impact statement, which is only 15% of the total. So apparently, all you care about is 15% is the amount of level that you care about our health and well-being.
When a squadron takes off, that's a 3-minute burst, it's done. It's not the landing. The landing is very silent. What the issue is continued ramp up operations from 0400 in the morning till morning drive of all jet aircraft, military, civilian, low performance and high performance, sitting there ramping up idling. I've fueled them, I've cleaned them, I've emptied them, I know what it's like, and I also have compensated hearing damage. But that's from high frequency F4s. It's also from 4 years of living with jets. I appreciate them, but do not think that your community is immune from pollution. Because where you live right now, if you stay the way it is, if they do not mitigate any sound and deaden it and dampen it, Williston's affected, Butler Farms, just that goodbye.
The Air Force and to the Armed Guard, I applaud you for your hard work, your dedication, and your bravery. But please use common sense. Do not fly your jets over densely populated residential areas. Please select another location that would not affect 1,000 residents and probably more. To my state and local officials, many who are not here, but to their representatives, I beseech you, do not be so short-sighted that you will sacrifice entire neighborhoods of people for a promise of more jobs that may or may not materialize.